This is the unit circle. Some things to know before we start is that this is the center of the unit circle, which is also the center of the coordinate plane at 0, 0. And the radius is 1 unit long. So starting the circle off with 0 degrees, we go halfway to 180 degrees, another halfway to complete the circle at 360 degrees. 1/4 of the circle is 90 degrees, and 3/4 of the circle is 270 degrees. Now starting with the first pattern, we have the 45, 45, 45 pattern. 0 plus 45 is 45, plus 45 is 90, then 135, then 180, 225, 270, 315. The next pattern, the 30, 30, 30 pattern, 0 plus 30 is 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, and 330. Now to radian. So first, let me tell you that this radius, when it is put on the outside of the circle, the arc, it goes there 1, 2, and 3, and then 0.14 times 3.14 pi. So the radian of this half a circle is pi, which means that a full circle is going to be 2 pi, because this pi is the same amount as here, so it's going to be double that, so it's 2 pi. And over here, it's going to be half of a pi, so it's pi over 2. Here's going to be 3/4 of 2 pi, so it's going to be 3 pi over 2. So now the fourths pattern, that's one of the patterns. So it's going to be 1, because 1/4, so pi over 4. 2 pi over 4, then 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. Pattern is 6, dividing each half of the unit circle into 6. So this is pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. Lastly, 12 pi over 6. This can be converted to pi over 3, this can be converted to 2 pi over 3, this can be converted to 4 pi over 3, and this can be converted to 5 pi over 3. And also one more thing, you can use this formula, degree divided by 180 times pi over 1, to find any of these values. Coordinate points, we know that this is 0, 0, and this radius is 1 unit long, so we know x is going to be 1 here, and y is going to be 0. The unit circle is symmetric about the y-axis, so now we know that x is going to be -1, and y is still 0. Up here, x is 0, and we know that y is up here at 1 unit, and y is down here now at -1, and x is still 0. Other coordinate points by using special right triangles. So I just drew a special right triangle right here, and 30 degrees, this is 30-degree angle, this is a 90-degree angle, and this has to be 60 degrees in order to equal 180 degrees. So we know that this is the radius, and it's 1. So that means this has to be half, because this is 2x and this is x. And now I can plug in half for x and see what we get. So this side is square root of 3 over 2. So now we know for the x value, it's going to be square root of 3 over 2 and comma half. Same thing, so this is 60 degrees, this is 90 degrees, and this is 30 degrees in order to equal 180 degrees. Short side is x, hypotenuse is 2x, and this long side is x times the square root of 3. So we know that this radius is 1. So we solve for x and get half. And now we know that x is half. We can do this. This is square root of 3 over 2. So our x coordinate here is half, and our y coordinate is square root of 3 over 2. This coordinate point, we do the same thing, another right triangle. This is 90 degrees, this is 45 degrees, and this has to be 45 to equal 180. These are the same lengths because they are the same angle. So this is x, and this hypotenuse is x times the square root of 2. So now we can solve for x because this is the radius and it's 1. So we have 1 equals x times square root of 2. We divide it by square root of 2, and then you have to rationalize the denominator. So then we get x equals square root of 2 over 2. So this is square root of 2 over 2, and this is square root of 2 over 2. And we know this value is going to be x square root 2 over 2 and y square root 2 over 2. So this is a coordinate point. To get the other 9 points, we're going to be using that. This is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, this is quadrant 4, and the proper signs. Also, we're going to be using the bow tie, the red one, the blue one, and the pink one. These bow ties are symmetric about the x-axis and the y-axis. All you have to do is, at each bow tie, there is 4 ends, and each end has already one value. All you have to do is copy down that value on the other 3 spots. The step to finish the unit circle is that you line up the proper signs. For example, in quadrant 1, x is positive, y is positive, so x and y are positive for each of the 3 values. Quadrant 2, x is supposed to be negative, and y is positive. Quadrant 3, they are both negative, x and y. In quadrant 4, x is positive, but y is negative. And the unit circle is le completar.